Okay, so since I'm outside of mainland China, I get to discuss this openly because otherwise I don't want to get into trouble.
Will you get into trouble? If you don't have to answer this, if you get into trouble, you don't have to answer this.
I think yes, but I will try to answer it in a
diplomatic way.
Yeah, in a neutral way.
Ni hao.
Ni hao.
Today is a very, very special episode, especially for the Chinese investors.
Yes.
I keep speaking a lot about macroeconomic trends. For example, one very big trend was the Russian trend.
Yeah.
There was a crypto trend. There's a trend called the Levantino region. That's all the conflict that's happening around the Middle East, like whether in Israel, in Lebanon, the US, the elections.
Yes.
So different trends, right? One of the biggest trends where everyone is anticipating, especially the whole casino and it's the Chinese, because in 2016 the Chinese were investing heavily and then they sort of stepped back,
Yeah.
you know. And now people are like, okay, when are they going to come back? Before I get into where are the Chinese going to invest or are investing, before I get into that, one concern that a lot of people had was that, okay, the Russians invested heavily. When the war settles down, will they pull back? So I've been doing this exercise, I keep asking every time I meet someone who's been staying here. So it's a 50-50 response. People are like, hey, if it settles back, of course, we've got family, friends back home. But the rest of the 50%, they don't want to leave. They're like, no, we're going to bring our family and friends over here. And we're very happy.
Because they see a future here.
They see a future here and they're very comfortable and now they cannot move. And so now I'm going to hand over the mic to Maria.
Hi.
Maria is our consultant from China.
Yes.
And she's going to advise us what products are the Chinese interested in? Where are they investing?
So before jumping into this topic, I just want to give you a little bit of the background about our philosophy. So we Chinese, we truly believe in Feng Shui.
Okay.
And this concept actually originated from the ancient times.
Okay.
Because we had so many emperors in different dynasties. So when they die, they want to bury themselves in the best location, right? So they had to decide on the location as well as the direction of their tomb.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And that is when Feng Shui came in. So Feng Shui, actually, this concept, it's all about us believing, closer to the water bodies as well as greeneries that will really rejuvenate our energy. So we believe in this concept as well called Qi. Qi is actually the, energy flow.
I believe in Qi.
Yeah? You do?
I try to gather my Qi.
Yeah.
I strongly believe in the power of Qi. Yeah.
Definitely. I believe in that too because, we're all vibrating on a certain energy level, right?
Yes.
So Qi is what is dominating us, as human beings as well as living, things in this world.
So, this is completely out of topic, but, I'm a bit into martial arts. And so so in that, gathering your Qi, it's more important when you fight or anything in life. Actually. Okay.
Definitely.
That's awesome. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, it's the same concept.
Okay.
That's why initially people who want to buy their homes, because homes for us has a very different meaning.
Okay.
Because every Chinese, every Asian culture, like we want to own a piece of land.
Okay.
Because I think that originated from the concept that everyone was into agriculture, farming.
Okay.
So we have this piece of land to ourselves and we are, sowing and we, reap our own fruits.
But that's very similar to the Indian culture.
Yeah.
In India as well, we have that vastu.
Yeah.
The vastu. And so the direction really does matter. It's the direction of the... Arabs also have it. Arabs, it's just majorly the direction of the sun.
Okay.
They believe that a house with a lot of sunlight is very healthy. But in India, it's a little more like about directions. Facing south, facing northeast, facing the east is considered very healthy.
And one of the interesting stories I encountered, so I encountered one Indian investor, right?
Uh-huh.
So he told me that everyone has a different concept of vastu.
Right.
So I asked him, what is your definition of vastu? So he said, this plot, the direction is good. However, the corners, one of the corners is missing. So it has to be like a square.
Right.
And I was like, oh, wow, because it's same as the case in Feng Shui and our Chinese, belief
Right.
that it has to be like ideally symmetrical.
Oh, okay.
If you look at all the palaces
Yes.
we have in Beijing, the capital city of China, right?
Right.
So you can see every infrastructure, every architecture, every
Right.
design of the palace, it's symmetrical. Yes, and it is like, it's very square-like.
Right.
We
right.
don't have any corner missing.
Ah,
or
right.
or in a different shape. This is what we believe in. And I was like, okay, so you're also very picky.
So I had a Japanese investor recently. So he said, Zohaib, I don't like as soon as you open the door, the living room. I need a place where I can
Okay.
keep my slippers.
Yeah.
And we don't. So we like to clean ourselves and then enter. So you have that similar thing in.
Yes,
Ah, okay.
definitely. So that's why we have the foyer. We don't want, whenever some stranger comes into our homes, right? We
Right.
always request them to change into slippers. We don't want their energy to intrude our daily lives. Because
Understood.
home is the most safe and secure place for us.
Okay.
So, we want to have a kind of protection from that energy. And
Rightful.
through the foyer, you just, direct that energy and then they assimilate with your energy. So it's all about qi, all about feng shui.
So it's very similar with Indian and Japanese as so far.
Yeah.
Floor plan, like the way the property flows, and then that particular factor, right? As soon as you open, it shouldn't be a wall, it shouldn't be a living area. There should be a place where you can remove the footwear, and then you enter. And
That's the concept.
Okay.
So that is when, like we Chinese, we value the land
Okay.
as well. But it's because of the urbanization that happened in China, right? From the past few decades, because China has really done miraculously well in terms of its economy. So there was a lot of, major shift
Right.
from the western side of China to the eastern side. So a lot of people, they're shifting, from the tier 2, tier 3 cities to tier 1 cities like Shanghai,
Understood.
Guangzhou, Shenzhen, Beijing.
Okay.
Because we believe, there are so many opportunities out there. But actually, I see a majority of them change their patterns ever since COVID happened. Because why? Now they believe instead of, being stuck into that rat race.
Right.
And plus, it's becoming so, you can say, it's not affordable anymore for them to
Okay.
live in tier 1, cities.
Okay.
They cannot afford rent and everything is just so expensive. So they decided, a lot of youngsters, they actually decided that why do we have to be stuck in a rat race? Why don't we just directly move back to our own cities? And, because over there they have huger land spaces to themselves.
Right.
So they prefer, to live in the villages, in the towns, to have their own villa,
Understood.
instead of having a tiny apartment or studio in a...
Right. In a city like
yeah.
So is it like Hong Kong where the apartments are really tiny, or not that case in Shanghai?
So in Hong Kong, the apartments are very tiny.
Yes.
Yes,
the
that is why
boxes,
they're so expensive. And
It's so
literally,
expensive.
I saw this, phamous picture of one building,
Yeah.
like literally people were living in matchboxes.
Boxes, yes.
Like, it's just
But that's not the
unbelievable.
case in China.
No. That's a bit too much.
Okay. But another very important thing. See, now the biggest millionaire migration, okay?
Yeah.
So I thought it'll be the UK, but it's actually China. So last year, around 13,200 millionaires moved out of China. And around 8,700 millionaires moved out of the UK. So these were the top rank 1 and rank 2. So as an economy, China is unbelievable. I think it's the only superpower, I think I should call it a superpower, that's even standing up to the powers like US, So
Yeah.
China is extremely strong. But then why are the millionaires moving out?
Okay, so since I'm outside of mainland China, I get to discuss this openly. Because otherwise, I don't want to get into trouble.
Will you get into trouble? If you don't have to answer this, if you get into trouble, you don't have to answer this.
I think yes, but I will try to answer it in a
diplomatic way.
Yeah, in a neutral way.
Okay.
Just, like a factual way.
Right.
Okay, I will not go into the details. So I think it's majorly because of the communism system we
Okay.
have in China, right?
Okay, so they try to share the wealth.
Yes. So the
Okay.
government believes that everyone, like the disparity between the rich and poor should not be too big.
Okay.
Because actually, we believe in communism, right?
Okay.
Back then, we were giving tokens, like not our generation, but what I heard from my grandparents' generations.
Right.
So what the government did was they used to hand you coupons, like
Okay.
tokens, to get specific amount of rice, specific amount of vegetables, specific amount of meat.
Okay.
And even if you have money, you cannot even buy, more quantity. So what some of the people did, like, because our family was quite lucky because
Right.
my grandfather, he was the head in, you can say, the railway system.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So he used to travel from cities to cities.
Understood.
So he had the freedom to, actually get food from other cities, other provinces, and, deliver them back home. But within that specific, province or
Right.
city we live in, everyone is dedicated to the specific amount.
It's amazing. So after this, we'll get into real estate, but last one. Last one. We'll get into real estate. I promise we're going to get into real estate after this. Okay. But the place I come from, okay, it's called Kerala in India.
Okay.
It's also a communist sort of state. We believe in communism.
Yeah.
So Karl Marx. So the same thing, Karl Marx. You guys know Karl Marx in China as well?
No.
Okay. So he's like the main guy,
Okay.
Karl Marx. Okay, that's fine. So real estate. Where so basically you're telling me that they would be really more interested. See, for example, the Russians are really interested in waterfront communities.
Yes.
So you're saying the Chinese would love the houses more, ultra luxury houses. What would they be keen on?
I think there are
investing in?
two types of people. Like one
Okay.
would prefer luxury villas.
Right.
So actually, you see it on the palm, right? So many of the Chinese people, they actually
Yes.
bought the villas to host parties, to invite their friends over.
To gamble.
To gamble, really?
Is
Is that something we can discuss?
I don't know. We should. Okay, sorry, but you know what? I'll tell you something that happened with me. This is really funny. Okay, one of my investors, he was from Bangladesh, right? So he had this villa in Damak Hills, and he wanted a price. So this was like a Trump estate villa,
Yeah.
one of the high-end ones, facing a golf course, beautiful villa. And then he wanted a slightly above the market price rent, And then I had this Chinese family agree to it, And I was like, okay, that's good. So I was a property manager. I was managing his portfolio, right? Never any question asked, nothing. And one day when I went to the house, there were like some 5-6 Rolls Royces and like high-end
Okay.
cars and stuff. And then when I went inside to speak to the guys, I felt like there were like 3-4 families. And then later on, someone told me, there's this thing where they do these casinos and
okay.
in-house like casinos and stuff. And there was a crackdown in Ajman. But that's a good sign, and it's not a bad thing. That's a good sign for Dubai. They love
Yeah.
casinos.
Yeah, that's
They
why,
love that.
everyone betted on the casino because they see Chinese,
Yes.
how crazy they are,
Yes.
Like, we don't have, like, gambling, officially, approved in mainland China, but
In Macau,
people
you go to
go to
Macau.
Macau.
And that's
Yeah.
the whole idea. We want to attract the crowd from Macau and Monaco. That's the crowd that we're trying to attract.
Yes,
Okay.
definitely. So luxury villas, definitely.
Any
would
products
be-
that you'd like to name?
I would say Emaar Oasis. Tilal Al Gulf, that's where investors had invested in.
This is funny. So I think 2 weeks ago, I made a video called this One Zabil, right?
Yeah.
And so there was this Singaporean Chinese.
Okay.
Okay. So she loved One Zabil.
Okay.
She did not like Emaar beachfront.
Okay.
Okay. But she loved Tilal Al Gaf, and so she bought a mansion there, a 35 million mansion.
Wow. Serenity Mansion.
Yes, she
Wow.
loved the mansion over there.
Right.
She also bought Damak Lagoon. She bought the 5-bed villa that was on the lagoon. They were like, see, we don't mind, so we'll have to look at the lagoon and we'll look at... She's like, Tilal Al Gaf, of course, they love... But they like the idea of a house on a lagoon, on a water
Yeah.
body. They like that concept.
That's why most of the investors initially they bought in District 1.
Oh, yes.
Because we Chinese, not only we love luxury villas, but at the same time, we also love downtown. We have to be in the city center because that is the primest location,
Correct.
of real estate.
Right.
So District 1 at that time when they launched, it was the closest lagoon community.
Okay.
To downtown. I had, investors who invested there and they had already, they already received a very good capital appreciation. They're pretty happy with it.
Okay.
So if you just look at the trend, actually all of them, they love investing in water communities.
Yes.
Initially, I think it's also because the fact that, like, if we talk about Emirate Hills, right? So that's a place where the greenery was established.
Okay.
So back then, 20 years back, everyone loved greenery, the concept of greenery, to have more green
But
spaces.
China, the pictures that I've seen is so green.
Yeah.
It is so beautiful, so much of natural beauty and ecosystem. So that's the environment they're looking for in Dubai. Okay.
Yes. And if we talk about the water bodies, of course, this is given by the developer, right?
Okay,
Developed
yes.
by the developer.
Yes.
Whereas the greenery, they can develop their own. Because, I know so many Chinese investors, what they do is they buy the luxury villas and they plant their own vegetables.
That was the whole concept of the valley, the farm gardens,
Yeah,
the
farm
farm
garden.
grows.
That is why farm garden, was a
A
huge
lot
hit.
of Chinese.
Yeah.
So another place I know that in Dubai Creek Harbor, almost 50% of the downtown area is invested by the Chinese. The reason we're discussing this today is because, see, how does an investor make money? If I buy a product, okay, let's suppose, I was discussing this with an investor. I had a Mexican investor who bought two-bedroom apartments in Dubai Creek Harbor and Creek Waters. He bought it at 2.6 million. Now I want to sell it at 3.5, for example. Okay, market is at 4 million, full water views. I'm getting a lot of interest from Chinese buyers. So now, see, I need to know what people like them, like what will the Russians, what will the Chinese, what will the Indian, what will they buy? If I can anticipate that and invest in the product, so I'll buy off plan when it's getting closer towards handover. Because not everyone is willing to pay that kind of premium. Now,
Yeah.
a Thilal Al Ghaf is selling, Serenity Mansion is selling at 35 million. 60% of the products that are sold or bought in Dubai are around the 1 million mark, right? It's a very small percentage of people who are actually going to buy, but that's the big money, right? That's where
Yeah.
people make your meaty profits.
Yes.
So that is why identifying where the Chinese will invest is really critical. So Oasis,
Oasis for sure, because considering the fact that it's 9 to 10 million square meters
Yes.
of land, where they're only going to have 7,500 villas.
correct.
So the density is quite low. There's a lot of exclusivity, privacy.
Yes, that's an
and
excellent point because so it's 9.5 million square foot in Oasis. Dubai Hills is also 9.5 million square foot, but they're like 33,000 houses. And the same thing, Oasis is 9.5 million square foot. So Oasis is a very important product because it's, I think, Emaar's first attempt to an ultra luxury community. And knowing Emaar, I think they're going to come up. So sorry, I'm interrupting, but this is one more very, very important point.
yeah.
Emaar, in particularly Oasis, wants up to 50% of open spaces, anywhere between 33 and 50%. That means lagoons, parks, green spaces, because that's what people want, right? Open green spaces, nice big mansions, good floor plans. Okay.
And also, I personally love Dubai Hills. I fell in love with the community so much.
Right.
But if we had to, even people who invested in Golf Place,
Right.
All these mansions, and a lot of them, they bought plots as well. But if we have seen the trend, most of them, they have seen a capital appreciation of more than 150%.
Yes. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So, but if we talk about Dubai Hills Estate, what's so special about it is, of course, the 18-hole, championship golf course, and then we have the mall, we have the hospital. But at the same time, we also have people who bought collective,
Yes.
you know.
So Chinese invested there a lot as well.
There are a lot as well.
Okay.
But what I see, the difference between Dubai Hills Estate and Emaar Oasis is that the entry ticket for Emaar Oasis itself, sets its standards so high.
Yes.
Whereas Dubai Hills Estate, you can easily enter by buying a collective
1.5
studio.
million.
Yeah, but back then it was roughly around 700 or 800,000
yes,
dirhams.
Yes, and Emaar Oasis is like 10 million, I guess,
Yeah.
just an entry ticket.
Yeah, so
And people like
definitely
that.
I see, and because now, if we have to talk about the philosophy, behind Chinese investing, we also look for brands. We are very brands conscious.
This is so important, so the other day, it was, okay, this is a very funny thing. It was Valentine's Day, okay?
Okay.
And I'm with my wife in this Al Qasr hotel. So we're sitting in a restaurant, okay? And and so my wife starts showing me pictures. Like, do you know how much this bag? So she's showing this Miu Miu bag. I don't know why. I'm like, there are people sitting on the other table who are just casually throwing around these bags. And she's like, this is like 70,000 dirhams. And this is, and I was like, then I just noticed that all of them, everything is branded, like super branded, like yeah.
Yeah, of
Okay.
course. I think
Yeah.
I'm sure it's like when it comes to fashion, then
Yes.
of course, we would love brands.
It is. I've observed that. So even in Dubai Mall,
Yeah.
if I go to any of these stores, like the ultra luxury section of Dubai Mall, it's a lot of Chinese. Okay, that's a good point.
That's why, the luxury brands, they're targeting the Chinese. I don't know if you have noticed, like even Dior, they had this whole decoration like they decorated this entire store with snake elements.
Yes.
Because this year is this year of snake.
Bulgari, the entire serpent designs.
I'm not sure if they actually took that inspiration from.
The Chinese, not that. Okay.
No, I don't think so, but
And then another thing I observed, I don't know if people observe this, but in Dubai Creek Harbour, the entire gate, right? See, Dubai Creek Harbour is one of the biggest construction sites, right?
Yeah.
So all the boards, they're written in English, Arabic, and Chinese.
even in Dubai Mall, the signs,
Yeah.
it's written in Chinese as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
and
big.
and whenever like Chinese New Year just happened, right?
Yeah.
I think it was last month because it's Feb already. So it was in Jan.
Right.
And this entire celebration goes on for 14 days.
Right.
So I actually saw celebrations, at the sales centers, like by Shoba and then by Omniant at Beyond.
It came on Burj Khalifa.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they want to attract, Chinese. And that is why I also have a certain group of, investors there. Like we only want Emaar, we only want a certain brand of developer because not only it's a good investment, like a safe investment, but for them it's also a status.
Understood.
So
Okay.
they can just proudly tell their friends, oh, I invested
So
in
then in that
Emaar.
perspective, wouldn't Palm Jebel Ali be very interesting for Chinese as well?
Yes. That's why also not only Indians invested in Palm Jebel Ali, Chinese heavily invested there.